Ray, from day one, regretted his guilty plea, as he explained to the parole board in 1997.
Everyone wanted a guilty plea except me.
For years, a number of Dr. King's closest aides and friends had voiced doubts about the case both then.
I think the government rushed a judgment.
I've always felt that James Earl Ray didn't act alone.
And now.
I don't think James Earl Ray acted.
You don't think he pulled the trigger?
I don't think he was anywhere near.
William Pepper first met James Earl Ray in 1978 when he went to visit him in prison. Pepper came away from that meeting certain of one thing.
It was pretty clear that he was not the shooter.
Had there not been a guilty plea, there might have been two huge holes in the prosecutor's case. First, ballistics experts could not match this bullet, which killed Dr. King, with the rifle Ray bought. The bullet was badly mangled upon impact, and the markings made by the rifle barrel when the gun was fired fell short of scientific certainty. Second, two men living in the boarding house could not identify the man they saw running from the bathroom after the sound of the shot. He held a hand to his face. The government's case places the shooter in the bathroom, but police had one witness at the time who did see someone else. Solomon Jones, King's driver that day, says he saw a man with a white hood over his head in the bushes across the street from the Lorraine Motel. The next day, something strange happened at the crime scene. The bushes you see here were cut back.
When I questioned the guy who was the head of the Public Works Department, I said, "Who ordered you to cut down the bush?" He said, "I was ordered immediately to get a team down there to work with the police first thing the next morning to just clean that whole place up."
William Pepper says there were military intelligence officers on the roof of the fire station next door. According to him, they took one incredible photo.
One of the guys, when the shot took place, took his camera and spanned it all the way around to the left into the bushes. And he caught the shooter lowering the rifle. And he said it was not James Earl Ray. All right? Definitively.
But Pepper says he never saw those photos. He says he knew a guy who did, but Pepper could never lay his hands on them. Those bushes were in the backyard of Jim's Grill. Jim's was a working man's dive right below the rooming house. It was owned by the now deceased Lloyd Jowers.
Now, I'd known old Lloyd by then I'd known him for 20 years.
On the evening of the assassination, Pepper says an employee went looking for Jowers.
And she hears this shot. Boom. And she stops. And then she continues, and she goes to the open door. All of a sudden, she sees Lloyd running toward her, carrying this rifle, still smoking.
Pepper says Lloyd Jowers didn't actually shoot Dr. King. He helped get rid of the gun as a favor to a mafia connection who came to see him.
And gave him $100,000 and said, your place is going to be needed for the killing of that nigger King.
Pepper believes the mafia was in cahoots with the federal government and local police who wanted King dead. Jowers told him as much.
It was planned in his place. There were logistical meetings there with police officers. And he was given a role to do in terms of the gun, being out there, taking the gun, eventually turning it over to Raoul.
Again, the mysterious Raoul. James Earl Ray had always insisted a man named Raoul, or someone else, must have left Ray's belongings behind to frame him.
Well, I think I was taken advantage of. Obviously, some people use a different word. They use dupe and all this stuff.
In 1997, CNN's Larry King asked James Earl Ray about this.
All right, what were you doing with a rifle that day?
I'd been a project with a guy named Raoul for about 8 or 9 months.
Smuggling?
The rifle was supposed to have been a display for some more of these projects in Mexico, some type of arms deal.
There's no question that Raoul existed and does exist.
Armed with so much information, Pepper wrote a book.
It was me who first
read William Pepper's book and actually brought him to meet my family where we dialogued.
Isaac Ferris, Dr. King's nephew and the head of the King Center, says that book and that dialogue persuaded the King family to get involved.
I feel that my family, Mr. Ray, and the American people have been unjustly denied the due process that is the birthright of every citizen.
We came very close to getting a real trial for James because there was a black judge called Joe Brown.
I would object to the entire line of questioning by the court.
We're trying to get the facts. We've got Dr. King dead in his grave, a national hero, a world hero, a national holiday named after him, and I'm not going to allow the vicissitudes of somebody's artful cross-examination to keep me as a trier of fact from getting to the bottom of this. Overruled.
And Judge Brown ruled in February 1997 that they could retest the weapon. Ballistics experts fired Ray's weapon 18 times to see if they could get a match. The results were inconclusive. But Ferris says one of those experts privately told him something else.
It was said to me that while no conclusions could be made, if they were pressed for a conclusion, they would err on the side of it not being the gun.
Ray never got a new trial. William Pepper turned to the King family one last time. They filed a civil case against Lloyd Jowers and other unknown co-conspirators.
All the evidence from the beginning to the end of how Martin King was killed and why he was killed and who coordinated the killing came out under oath.
In less than an hour, the jury ruled that Lloyd Jowers, not James Earl Ray, was involved in the murder. A verdict embraced by all those who believe the true killer has yet to be caught. John Campbell was the final prosecutor who fought all of Ray's appeals. He maintains the biggest problem with the Raoul story was it kept changing.
Why are you convinced there's no Raoul?
He started out as a red-haired French-Canadian. By the time we get into the late chapters of the story, it's Raoul, and he's from Central America, and he's a CIA operative or a gun runner or God knows what.
Nobody was ever found to place a Raoul with James Earl Ray in Atlanta or Birmingham or Memphis.
Nobody ever sees Raoul other than apparently Ray. And that's another problem is, it's almost like, the 6-foot-tall bunny. He can see him, but nobody else can.
Even lawyer William Pepper concedes.
No, we never found anybody to place Raoul, who placed James in Raoul's presence or Raoul in James's presence. We were never able to do that.
I asked Ray's brother, Jerry, about that. But there's no one ever who said, oh, yeah, I saw them meeting, or they were walking down the street together. Oh, yeah, I saw him driving James's car.
Yeah.
None of that.
No. And you probably won't.
Isn't that seem strange?
No. Them guys are professionals. See, they know what they're doing. They know how to cover their tracks.